Well, before I became a member of Congress, I was involved in the construction and engineering industry. So I've got a lot of experience with this discussion. And just as a history lesson, and I don't think this has been brought up today, in my second term in Congress, when we had the majority, we went through the congressional review process, which basically what we did is we unleashed the fossil fuel industry in our country. I had no idea what that would produce. We became the leader producer of LNG, which burns, by the way, 42% cleaner than any other anything out there producing energy right now. We control the cost of a barrel of oil. At that time, it's between $30 and $40 a barrel. Inflation rate was around 1.26%. And of course, we created a war between Russia, an oil war between Russia and Saudi Arabia that brought oil down to $7 a barrel, which was unheard of. And my fellow Americans, do you realize what kind of power and national security that is? It is, it's hard to explain. And frankly, I don't understand why it doesn't get to the ballot box. If the American people actually understood what we're up against, I think, I think they would think a little different about what, what they want to try to do in the future of this country. I tell folks, I'm from Georgia, and I tell folks from these other states that, if you're going to charge your electric car, you're going to have to come to Georgia. Because, David, we have the most abundant, most efficient, best value energy of any state in the country, which explains why Georgia has been the best state to do business in 10 years in a row. And I congratulate you and the University of Georgia and, of course, our other great universities for what you've done to make that happen, because you've been a big part of it. And as the chairman said, Plant Vogel's in my district. I have lived 3 and 4. I mean, you can't believe what we've been through. But the bottom line is we're still going to produce power at less than a penny a kilowatt hour. That's based on 40 years. That thing's going to run 60, 80 years. Yeah. So, David, you say nuclear, there's no way forward. Obviously, the regulations, and we went through it on 1 and 2. When we built it, we had the meltdown at 3 Mile, and then all of a sudden the manual got very thick. Obviously, we want to be safe, but there's no hope for nuclear energy in this country?
No, so there is. I'm actually quite optimistic about it, Congressman,
Yeah.
long term, very optimistic. My point is it probably will not be large nuclear plants like Vogel. It's going to be the small modulars. I'm very bullish that we're going to see that turn around, and I think the U.S. is going to recapture its swagger from that. I do think we're going to need to engage, though, with our allies across the country, across the world, excuse me. If we're going to stand down China and Russia and the footprint that they have right now on this, we are going to have to work with our allies. We not only need this resource and technology domestically, but emerging economies where energy poverty really still is a big problem, they need this technology. They need reliability. We talk about energy transitions. They're looking for energy traction.
Right. Well, and a little bit of history of rural America, our rural co-ops. They went through the Clean Air Act. I think it was the 4th Amendment to the Clean Air Act on the scrubbers and all. They invested millions to meet the requirements of the Clean Air Act. And then, of course, 20 years later, they said, no more coal. And so, they're sitting out there right now faced with, okay, where does rural America, where do we get the power?
Right, and I'll be real quick. If you think about a top-down, hard-pressure energy transition push, we can look back at the late 70s with the Power Plant Industrial Fuels Use Act, where we literally, by legislation, this body outlawed natural gas and oil plants and were mandated to build coal plants. We don't know what the future is going to hold when it comes to energy resources, which is why it really makes little sense to be abandoning any of those right now to meet one objective.
Well, thank you all for your work on this, and like I said, I hope the American people are listening. This, this can get to a crisis real quick, and we experienced a little of that in December, and thank you so much for being with us today, and let's get the message out there. Thank you very much.